What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. It is me, Jay Flat Out. Thank you guys so much for the huge support coming back to YouTube, and you guys have been so nice and welcoming, and thank you guys for the positive comments. I'm glad you guys are all excited about the new builds like I am. But today is the big day. We have some big suspension stuff coming because CJC provided us with a great start in smoothing out that kind of horrible ride that you see from the factory dually. Now, to be fair, the truck does almost have 70,000 miles on it on the factory shocks. Well, factory shocks in the rear, I have Bilstein 4600s in the front, but they're both kind of blown out because it's been towing heavy for 70,000 miles on factory shocks. So today, we don't have the shocks yet, they're still shipping, but we do have the sway bar and the steering box brace. You guys have seen these items on other trucks, but today, I'm gonna be installing them in the driveway really quick. Well, maybe not really quick, but we're gonna be installing them. If you guys remember this clip from the last video, what it's like driving through this intersection near my house in the dually. Here we go. Oh, Jesus Christ. Where we went over like a horrible intersection down the street from my house and it almost shakes the whole truck apart. Yeah, we don't want that anymore, and CJC is gonna help us get rid of that. So, as always, guys, please do support CJC Off Road. Their links to everything on the truck, everything on the build is in the description. Please do support them. They have a great customer service team and they are incredibly knowledgeable. So as you can see, we got the factory sway bar out. It's pretty simple to do, and there you can get a better look at the end links. But so why I chose to do the two items first is because this steering box brace actually goes above the sway bar. So instead of taking the sway bar out twice, we take it out once, and then we're gonna install the steering box brace first. So for you guys who are unaware of what this is, what it basically does is it bolts up to your factory, either your factory or your aftermarket sway bar, and there's a long bolt that goes through here, attaches to the bottom of your steering box, basically where the steering box and the pitman arm meet. And what this does is it adds a level of rigidity to your factory steering box. Now, maybe not a huge deal on like a stock setup, but since I put the 20s on this truck, I want to maintain that factory steering box as much as I can, and I also want to make sure that we don't get any slop or death wobble or play in the steering that we don't want. So for just over $100, I think these are around 150 bucks. The link is in the description again if you forgot. I've put these on almost every single solid front axle truck that I've ever had, and it's one of my first go-to modifications. It's super simple to do, especially if you're gonna be changing the sway bar anyway, because this Carli Sway Bar comes in a couple pieces. So basically, when you bolt this up to your frame, you'll just include the outer portion of the Carli Sway Bar, and it makes it kind of a 2-for-1 deal. I think it's great. Like I said, I think this is probably one of the most underrated steering components that you can get on these trucks, and for the price, it's a no-brainer. So I'm gonna keep putting this on, and we will check in a little bit. Whew, so we're gonna take a little break from the action. This install is not challenging, but there's just a lot of very precise parts, and we're increasing the tolerances so drastically over the wibble wobble crap that the factory gives us. So let's go underneath. So as we get under here, we have the new sway bar. This is the torsion sway bar portion of it, and we have the steering box brace. As you can see, this is the joint that we changed earlier. It goes through. You add this greasable, I don't know what you'd call that, but some kind of extra security, and then that bolts to the frame. You can see the sway bar slips between that groove right there. We add our sway bar mounting points, and then our sway bar arms. So we still got to add the bolt here and everything. I just want to kind of button everything up first, but this is kind of what you should be looking at. So not only will the ride be improved because of the upgraded parts, but it'll also be improved because we're removing the sloppy factory horrible parts with low tolerances. Again, this is just round one of improving the ride. I think tomorrow I have another care package coming from CJC Off Road, which is going to be huge. This is going to be one of the best tow rigs, definitely on YouTube, most likely on the highway. As we come down, you can see the Banks intercooler through the guard there. You can see the Carli front diff cover, and then you can see the steering box brace there, as well as the new torsion sway bar. Just look at the old end links compared to the new end links. That is hugely beefy. And not only that, but as you can see, these end links only have bolts coming out of one side. This whole joint on both ends rotates as well. So as you guys should know by now, I'm gonna get all the tools cleaned up, wash up a little bit, and then we'll take it for a drive. First drive with the new sway bar and the steering box brace. Now, like I said, I have had these mods on other trucks, but to be honest, those trucks were street trucks, kind of for show only, and this truck is very purpose built. Again, we're building this thing to be an absolute towing machine. It's already got 68,000 miles on it, probably 60,000 of those towing very heavily. So yeah, I'm excited to see kind of where we go with the new suspension, as well as the new power modifications that we have, courtesy of CJC Off Road, as well as Banks Performance. A sway bar is obviously kind of, you know, you're gonna feel it most in corners, you're gonna feel it most in uneven road, you're gonna feel it a lot in terrain where basically the front wheels are not going over the same thing at the same time. So a lot of times when you approach your driveway at a weird angle, a lot of times where, you know, there's maybe a bump on one side of the road and not the other, it's gonna eat up a lot more of that unevenness and that body roll that you experience. And then I personally think that it helps you in the corners. Maybe you're going a little fast around a corner that you're not expecting, or maybe you just like to drive a little bit faster. You know, I think that this sway bar helps a lot in that circumstance as well. So that's kind of why I always like to do the torsion sway bar from Carli on all my diesel trucks. As well as the steering box brace, because like I said, that steering box brace does help a tremendous amount with kind of holding that steering box together, you know, giving it basically, you know, it's almost like adding just a back brace to it, where we're now, instead of like just kind of being loosey-goosey all over the place doing its own thing, you're telling it like, no, like you're gonna stay here, you're gonna operate as performed, and you're gonna like it. So it goes without saying that, you know, the first thoughts are obviously positive. You know, like I said, I have had this kit before, and the dually makes absolutely no difference. You know, it's still very well performing. I feel like we're sitting a lot smoother, especially kind of coming out of a driveway a little bit quicker like we just did. I feel like I'm not kind of leaning so far and then having to like shutter back. You know, I think it's like I said, I think it just absorbs the swaying of the truck a lot better compared to the stock. Here's a pothole on one side. What it kind of feels like is, for instance, just then the passenger wheel hit a pothole, and what I kind of get the feeling of is this kind of takes the solid front axle truck and it gives it almost the characteristics of a independent front suspension. You know, usually when the passenger wheel hits a bump or, you know, hits a pothole and it's basically chopping like that, you kind of feel it throughout the whole front end. The whole wheel might shake, you know, this side of the truck might bounce, and it all just kind of goes horrible. Well, this sway bar takes a lot of that rigidity out of the entire truck and makes each corner a little, well, the front corners a little bit more independent, in my opinion. So it kind of rides a little bit closer to like the 1500 versus this 3500. So again, huge thanks to CJC Off Road for giving us these parts to test for you guys, to give you guys our opinions on. Like I said, I believe tomorrow the shipment is coming in with these shocks, the track bar, and the steering stabilizer. So that will be the next suspension update, and then we'll kind of have a lot of the truck built in terms of then being able to go out and do the tow tests, comparing it to like the deleted truck and other stuff like that. So do make sure you subscribe. Once again, all the links to every product on this truck is in the description below. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Do like and subscribe to the video, it helps us grow, and I'll look forward to seeing you next video.